I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 5 years now. At first, everything seemed perfect. She was gorgeous, smart, confident, kind of the girl every guy dreams of. We had a good life, decent jobs, a nice apartment, and shared a lot of dreams about the future. But somewhere along the line, I started noticing little things that didn't add up. She began working late more often. At first, I just figured she was stressed or trying to climb the ladder at her job. She's a bitchy, stubborn woman, and she's always been good at hiding her true feelings, so I didn't suspect anything outright. But then I noticed her phone was always face down, even when she was in the bathroom or in bed. She would get defensive if I asked to see her phone, and she'd lie about where she was or who she was talking to. The worst thing was how she started acting cold and distant. I'd try to talk to her about our relationship, and she'd brush me off with some excuse, "You're being paranoid," or "It's just work stress." But I could see something was wrong. It was like she was hiding something, and I was starting to feel like I was losing my wife to whatever was going on behind my back. One night I was working late myself, cryptocurrency stuff, mostly trying to make sense of the market. Lisa was out with her friends, or so I thought. I came home around midnight, tired but restless, and I decided to check her phone. I usually don't do that, but I had this gut feeling, like a gnawing suspicion I couldn't ignore anymore. I unlocked her iPad, which she always left on the couch, and started scrolling through her messages. That's when I saw it. There were messages from some guy named Brandon, talking about their protocol verification meetings. At first, I thought maybe it was some work thing. But then I saw the timestamps, late nights, weekends, all these exchanges that seemed way more intimate than professional. And the way she was texting him, laughing, teasing like they had some secret code. It wasn't just work, it was something else. My stomach dropped. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I knew my wife wasn't exactly a saint. She's always been bitchy, manipulative, and good at lying. But I never expected her to cheat on me with her work associate, especially not over some shady meetings that were supposed to be protocol verifications. That sounded like code for sneaking around, and I was too pissed to pretend anymore. I had the evidence, and I knew I had to confront her. I stared at the screen, my mind racing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Lisa, my wife, the woman I trusted, was secretly exchanging dirty texts with Brandon, her protocol verification partner, while I was at work or out somewhere, completely in the dark. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and that sickening feeling in my stomach that I'd been played for a fool. I knew I needed to confront her, but I wasn't going to do it immediately. I wanted to be prepared. I sat there in the dark for a while, scrolling through her messages again, trying to understand how long this had been going on and how deep it ran. From the tone of her texts, it was clear she was feeding Brandon some of her most intimate thoughts. She'd even joked about how she'd use her wife card if I ever got suspicious. That bitch. Next, I looked through her phone calls and social media just to get a fuller picture. There were late-night calls, sometimes just a few minutes, sometimes over an hour, and more messages hidden behind deleted history. I found a few emails that confirmed she'd been sneaking around for months. She'd always been a liar, but now I had hard proof that she wasn't just cheating. She was actively lying and hiding everything from me. I felt numb but also furious. How could she do this to me? After everything we'd built, she was off screwing someone else, hiding it like some kind of secret agent. It wasn't just the betrayal of the act, it was how casually she lied about it, how she dismissed my concerns like I was paranoid. That was the moment I realized I couldn't let this slide. I had to confront her, but I knew this wasn't going to be an easy fight. The next day, I woke up early, heart pounding. I decided I'd catch her off guard. No premeditated shouting match, just a straight-up reveal. I knew she'd lie, she'd deny, maybe call me crazy, but I needed her to face what she'd done. I kept the evidence on my phone ready to show her. I also prepared myself emotionally. I knew this was going to be the most painful conversation of my life. When she finally came home that evening, she was her usual bitchy self, all confidence and attitude. She strutted in, flopping onto the sofa, trying to act like nothing was wrong. I looked at her, my fists clenched, and I finally said, "Lisa, I saw your messages. I know about Brandon." I know what you've been doing." Her eyes widened for a split second, then she rolled her eyes, scoffing like I was just some jealous loser. "Oh, please," she snapped. "You're overreacting. You're just paranoid as usual. Brandon's just a friend. You're blowing this out of proportion." But I wasn't having it. I pulled out my phone, showing her the messages, the timestamps, the photos she sent him. Her face went pale for a moment, then she started flipping the script. "God, you're such a drama queen," she said, voice dripping with contempt. "You're always accusing me of stuff. Maybe I should have just kept it to myself." She brushed past me, trying to act like she didn't care, but I knew better. I saw her hands trembling. She was scared, angry, maybe even guilty. I stood there, feeling every bit of my world fall apart. That was the moment I realized everything I thought I knew about us was a lie. The confrontation didn't go the way I expected. Lisa, that bitch, she played it cool at first, like she wasn't sweating. But I saw right through her act. Her eyes darted, her voice trying to sound confident, but there was this squeak, the telltale sign that she was nervous as hell. I pressed her, asking how long she'd been screwing Brandon, what the hell her protocol meetings really were. She kept denying everything, lying through her teeth, calling me crazy, saying I was just insecure, that it was all just a misunderstanding. I lost my temper for a second, yelled at her to stop the bullshit. I told her I knew she'd been sneaking around for months, that I had proof of every lie, every secretive text, every late-night call. Her reaction was infuriating. She scoffed, told me I was overreacting, that I didn't understand her work, that Brandon was just a colleague, and that I was jealous because I couldn't handle her success. She said, "Maybe if you weren't so insecure, you wouldn't be so threatened, Mike." That was the moment I realized she was a master manipulator, a pro at twisting everything around to make herself look like the victim. I felt my blood boiling. All I wanted was to shake her and scream, "How could you do this to me, to us?" But I held back, knowing I needed a clear head if I was going to deal with her. I just told her, "You can lie all you want. I'm done with your bullshit. I want a divorce." The words tasted bitter, but I meant every syllable. I wanted her out of my life, out of my house, and most of all, out of my damn head. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, like she was trying to gaslight me one last time, saying, "You're making a huge deal out of nothing. We're just friends. You're paranoid, Mike. You always have to ruin everything." That's when I saw her true colors: narcissistic, selfish, and totally lacking remorse. She had no shame, no guilt, just a cold, calculating way of trying to keep her grip on the situation. The emotional fallout was even worse. I felt like I'd been sucker punched, like my entire world was collapsing under me. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, that bitch, laughing, lying, sneaking around behind my back. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I let her get away with it for so long. The betrayal cut deep, and I hated her for it. I hated myself for not catching her sooner. But I also knew I couldn't let her destroy me completely. I had to think about what came next. I was furious, yes, but I also felt this strange sense of clarity. I realized I deserved better than a wife who treated me like a fool, who lied and cheated while pretending to be perfect. I told myself I'd move on, that I'd rebuild my life without her. Still, a part of me was torn. The trust was gone, and I knew from now on I'd be forever wary of who she really was underneath her bitchy, manipulative mask. After that night, everything changed. I was a mess, angry, hurt, feeling like I'd been hit with a sledgehammer. I couldn't look at her without seeing the betrayal etched into her face, and every time she tried to spin her lies, I just felt more disgusted. I knew I had to act fast. The last thing I wanted was her sneaking around behind my back anymore, especially knowing she'd been risking our entire financial security over her stupid protocol meetings with Brandon. I decided I wasn't going to let her walk over me anymore. I started planning my revenge, but not in a petty way. I wanted to hit her where it hurt, on her terms. I knew she was obsessed with her reputation, power, and control, so I figured, why not use that against her? I wanted her to feel what I felt: utter humiliation, betrayal, and loss. And honestly, I wanted her to regret ever messing with Brandon and me. My first move was to dig deeper into her digital life. I found out she'd been hiding bank accounts, secret chats, even a burner phone she'd bought after I confronted her. That's when I decided I'd escalate things. I contacted a private investigator I knew, someone discreet, who tracked Brandon's movements, his phone calls, and his online activity. Turns out, they'd been meeting in person, going to hotels, and even doing stuff I don't even want to admit to myself. All behind my back. Meanwhile, I started gathering evidence of her financial schemes, her lies, her manipulate tactics. I wanted her to understand this wasn't just about cheating. It was about her trying to take everything I had built, risking our crypto holdings, our savings, everything. I wanted her to see she wasn't just screwing around with Brandon. She was destroying us both. I also reached out to a lawyer secretly, just to see what my options were. I knew I needed proof of her betrayal to get a clean divorce, and I wanted to make sure I'd be protected from her manipulations. Every day I felt like I was walking a tightrope. One wrong move and she'd spin it her way, turn me into the bad guy. But I stayed calm, focused, and relentless. I knew I had to play this smart if I wanted to come out on top. The plan was to confront her again, but this time with everything laid out. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some naive fool. She'd pushed me to my limit and I was ready to fight back. The betrayal had opened my eyes and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I wanted her to regret crossing me, to understand that her actions had consequences. And I was determined to make sure she paid for everything she'd done, financially, emotionally, and morally. The day I executed my plan, my heart was pounding like crazy. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I was ready to see her face when she realized I had everything on her. I set up my own little surveillance, hidden cameras in the house, just enough to record her reactions if she tried to deny anything. I already had the evidence from the private investigator, so all I needed was her showing her true colors again. That evening she came home from some meeting, acting superior, as if she still had control. I played it cool, but inside I was boiling. She strutted around pretending she didn't see the tension, but I was waiting. As soon as she sat down, I pulled out my phone and started playing the recordings I'd made of her secret meetings, the texts from Brandon, and even a few calls I had intercepted. Her face went pale, the mask she always wore cracking just enough for me to see the truth. Her lips trembled, and for a second she looked like she was about to freeze. Then she shot back with her usual bitchy attitude. "What the hell is this? You've been spying on me. You're nuts, Mike." But I wasn't done. I pressed play on a recording of her telling Brandon she'd use her wife's card to get out of trouble, then another where she discussed joint crypto accounts she'd secretly been funneling money from. Every word, every lie, it all came pouring out. She started yelling, calling me paranoid, saying I'd lost my mind. She tried to twist it around, claiming I was just jealous, that Brandon was just a friend, that I was blowing everything out of proportion. But I cut her off because I'd had enough. I told her, "You've been screwing around behind my back for months, risking our money, our marriage. You don't get to call me paranoid now." I wanted her to see that I knew everything, the extent of her deception. That night, as she stormed out, screaming about how I was ruining everything, I sat there alone, feeling both victorious and empty. I'd finally caught her, exposed her, and I knew she couldn't spin her way out of this one. But it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like I'd lost something I could never get back. The trust was shattered, and I realized that her lies had cut too deep. Still, I was determined to take control of my life, even if it meant starting over alone. In the days that followed, I began the process of separating from her completely. I contacted my lawyer, started sorting out the assets, and made sure all our crypto holdings were secured. I wanted her to see that her actions had consequences, that I wasn't going to be the fool she thought I was. It was a rough, brutal lesson, one I'd never forget. And honestly, I don't think I'll ever trust anyone the same way again. Now, looking back, I realize how deeply her betrayal changed me. I thought I knew her, I thought I knew us, but her actions proved. She was willing to risk everything, our relationship, our future, even our financial security, just to chase some fleeting thrill with Brandon. I won't pretend I haven't felt a mix of relief and bitterness. Relief that I finally got the truth, but bitterness because I trusted her completely, and she threw it all away with lies and sneers. The aftermath has been a roller coaster. I moved out, took control of the crypto accounts and finances. I've been rebuilding piece by piece, trying to piece myself back together. It's not easy. That sense of betrayal lingers like a dark cloud over every new day. But I've learned some hard lessons. Trust is fragile, and some people will lie, manipulate, and cheat without remorse. You have to be vigilant, even with the ones closest to you. I've also come to understand that revenge isn't about getting even just to feel better. It's about taking back your power. Exposing her lies, securing my future, and walking away with my dignity intact. That's what mattered most. I want anyone out there in a similar situation to know, don't ignore the signs. When something feels off, pay attention. Because the cost of ignoring your instincts might be far worse than you think. Most importantly, I've learned that I deserve honesty and respect, things Lisa never truly gave me. And no matter how painful it is, sometimes the best decision is to walk away, rebuild, and never let someone's betrayal define your worth. I'm still hurting, sure, but I'm also stronger. And I know now that the only person who truly has your back is yourself. That's what this experience has taught me, and I hope it helps someone out there realize they don't have to accept betrayal, because at the end of the day, you're the only one responsible for your happiness.